Hello again, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for this Friday edition of Alaska Weather, 20th day of May now, 2022. I'm David Percy. Up first, we've got, let's see, first graphic here. If I can get the cursor on the right screen, hit the right key. There we go. Breakup map showing the flood watch areas there on the Yukon River from Grayling to Russian Mission, and otherwise, of course, Kuskokwim open for the most part, and Yukon River upper stretches there mostly open, and it's that ice jam north of Grayling that's causing the flood watch, all the water building up behind it, and when that releases, it could cause some significant flooding once it does go from Russian Mission to Grayling. Otherwise, up to the north, the Koyukuk River is mostly open to open all the way through down, and then the Noaa River has some open on it that's gradually expanding from day to day, and the let's see, that's the Sag River, about the same, just a small area of open water there, and the Kaparik and the Colville still pretty well iced in solid there. And from there, going on to the fire danger map, we've got an area of extreme fire danger forecast for tomorrow for the north side of the Alaska Range there, Delta Junction and areas there, due to gusty winds expected to kick up from the southeast, 15 to 25 miles an hour, with humidities down to 15%. So we got a stretch of extreme fire danger in that zone there, again, north and mainly on the north side of the Alaska Range, including the Delta Junction area. And it'd be the windy areas in that location with the warm temperatures and low humidities. Otherwise, areas of high fire danger showing up there just east of Kenai Peninsula there, up towards southern Turnagain Arm across the recreational area, and also on the west side of Cook Inlet and up around Palmer as well. And pretty good area of high fire danger, Bristol Bay, northern Bristol Bay, due to the gusty winds and dry conditions there today. The winds gusting 40 miles an hour at King Salmon, and also high fire danger in across the Togiak Bay area, of course the inland areas, and up across the central and eastern Yukon Kuskokwim deltas, and locally into the lower Kuskokwim Valley as well, or the lower Yukon River Valley as well. And from there, taking a look at hazardous weather graphics, flood advisory out there for, let's see, northern Copper River Basin, including Moose Creek in Glen Allen, and the Gulkana River flood advisory out through the weekend for possible flooding or for minor flooding. There is flooding occurring in those areas, expected to continue through the weekend. And then up to the north, a flood watch out through the weekend also for the Salsa River, and both the advisory area and that watch area due to snow melt with the warm temperatures now, both at the lower elevation snow melt and some higher elevations as well. And so Salsa River has a possibility of seeing some flooding there. And then the one in the lower Yukon River, that's the flood watch I just spoke of from Grayling to Russian Mission. That's out through Saturday evening. And again, that's due to a large amount of water that's backed up behind the ice jam that's just upstream from Grayling. So when that ice jam gives way, you could see some serious flooding there along the Yukon River. And now going to the, let's see, satellite imagery. First the visual, first couple of runs here showing the visual satellite imagery, showing a lot of clear skies there from the Pribilof Islands northward to St. Lawrence Island into the Bering Strait and the Chukchi Sea areas, and then some clouds along the Arctic coast. Also a lot of sunshine clearing from Cook Inlet, North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, northward right up to the Brooks Range today. Maximum sunshine allowing temperatures rise well into the 60s, some cases lower to mid 70s by mid to latter part of the afternoon today from the Kenai Peninsula right up into interior Alaska. And Not so for the Bristol Bay area. Got some clouds moving in and gusty winds, not so much in precipitation with those winds. That's why the fire dangers were elevated down there in that area, as we just saw. Winds gusting, as I mentioned, up to 40 miles an hour at King Sam and AKwx there, southern Kodiak Island, seeing southeast winds gusting to 47 miles an hour. And Port Hayden, 52 mile an hour wind gusts, and the peak wind gusts reported out at Nikolsky there, west side of Unmak Island, of 55 miles per hour, with that low center just to the west there over Atka Island. And now we're into the infrared imagery here, and you can see the frontal boundary shifting, or really not pushing across Kodiak Island all that much. The precipitation so far has not been very impressive. 12-hour amounts, about 1/100th of an inch at Dutch Harbor or so. Again, with they're carrying light rain currently, with east winds gusting to 45 miles an hour. Falls Pass had maybe about 1/10 of an inch or so, as well as King Cove. In other areas less than that, about 1,500s reported at Adak, with the clouds back in that area. So far, the precipitation hasn't really been too significant. Otherwise, today, low clouds and fog right along and off the coast of the Panhandle, in the Gulf of Alaska too. More of a low cloud condition than any fog there around Middleton Island, say visibility 10 miles, but carrying overcast skies. And then the gusty winds and rain trying to increase there, Kodiak Island, with areas of light rain along the Alaska Peninsula, and mostly on the eastern side of the Aleutian Range, those gusty southeast winds blocking it in King Salmon with that downsloping they're seeing there. But light rain, fog, and breezy conditions, showers for the Fox Islands, and low clouds, fog, a few flurries along the Arctic coast from the central coast eastward to Kaktovik and Barter Island, but light winds up in that area. Sunny and warm over interior Alaska. Temperatures in the interior, it's rising upper 60s to mid 70s by mid-afternoon. And the forecast for tonight, a few skiffs of snow along the Arctic coast possible, maybe the north slope as well. Low cloud fog condition continues there with light winds. Interior, mostly clear, mild overnight period tonight with that thermal trough holding through the night there right across the Tanana Valley. And low clouds and fog with somewhat higher pressure will probably push in right along the coastline. Could even push in across the southern areas of the Panhandle Dixon entrance tonight. And then still chance of rain, gusty winds, Kodiak Island, occasional rain and showers for the Alaska Peninsula. Even the Perbeloffs now as that front pushes a little farther north. And periods of rain with winds out of the north-northwest, gusting maybe 30-35 miles an hour from Adak westward to Kiska Island. And low clouds and fog, Chukchi Sea, possibly into the Bering Strait, maybe St. Lawrence Island. And for Saturday, a day much like today over interior Alaska, temperatures back into the 60s to lower 70s. Look for the clouds to increase, though, over southern Kenai Peninsula, southern Cook Inlet. With that high pressure building right along the coastline, look for increasing windy conditions in the afternoon, especially for Cook Inlet blowing out of Turnagain Arm. And otherwise, low clouds and fog near or off the coast of the Panhandle there, so it should be another mostly sunny day over interior areas. Maybe a little more extensive low clouds down toward Dixon entrance, but it looks wet for the Alaska Peninsula, dry for the Arctic coast, low clouds and fog possible, but don't look for much in the way of any precipitation or wind up in that area through the Chukchi Sea to St. Lawrence Island. And the outlook for Sunday, chance of rain along the south coast of Prince of Wales Island late in the afternoon. Bulk of the moisture pushing into the Queen Charlotte's and Dixon entrance. That weakening front trying to push a change into the southern Panhandle. Should still be another mostly sunny day across the southeast coast. Low clouds pushing into Prince William Sound, Kenai Peninsula. Look for a few more clouds, a little cooler temperatures Sunday across much of southern Alaska, even out to the Kuskokwim Valley and the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta. Still sunny and warm in the interior. Risk of a thunderstorm around Eagle or a rain shower, but nothing too significant. Most of that action is going to be off into the Yukon and Northwest Territories. Flurries possible eastern Arctic coast, otherwise not much change through the weekend up there. Low pressure near Adak keeps unsettled out over the southern Bering Sea and the Aleutian Chain. Few isolated showers, though, for the Fox Islands. And the lows tonight, upper 20s to lower 30s. In the northern part of the state, lows mid to upper 40s over the central interior, and upper 30s to mid 40s southern Alaska. And for the highs tomorrow, 65 to 80, call it, in the interior for the highs, and 60s to mid-70s in the Susitna Valley. 65 to 72 for the Panhandle, near 50 for Kodiak. Lows 40s central interior, mid-20s on the Arctic coast. And then the highs on Sunday, a little cooler, 65 to 70 Susitna Valley, near 60 down toward Homer, and 65 to 75 in the central.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Flying weather, IFR, Arctic coast, into the North Slope with marginal VFR right up to the crest of the Brooks Range. South of the Brooks Range, down to the Kenai Peninsula, North Gulf Coast areas, and the Panhandle, all VFR, even Norton Sound, Seward Peninsula, in toward Kotzebue Sound, and the Yukon Delta, marginal VFR spreading in across Togiak Bay and Kuskokwim Bay into the southwest mountains there, southern Kuskokwim Mountains, and IFR Pribilofs and the central Aleutians, otherwise marginal for the Bering Sea. IFR spreading up along the south side of the Alaska Peninsula, southeastern Aleutian Range, and covering Kodiak, Fognak Islands. Marginal VFR up in across the Barren Islands, Kamishak Bay, southern Kenai Peninsula. And for the afternoon, IFR trying to push into Kamishak Bay. Marginal VFR in both Kamishak and Kachemak Bays, but VFR, Cook Inlet, and all of interior Alaska. Marginal VFR over the southwest interior. And IFR continues on the central and eastern Arctic coast. Marginal VFR again to the Brooks Range, but south of the mountains are a good VFR. And IFR north of the western Aleutians, otherwise marginal for the Pribilofs and the Fox Islands. Sunday morning, good VFR again, the Panhandle, North Gulf Coast. Marginal VFR now sinking southward there in across the Kobuk and Selawik Valley areas and into the far eastern Seward Peninsula with IFR central eastern Arctic coast, eastern North Slope. Brooks Range pretty marginal for Sunday morning, but the interior good VFR. Big area of IFR from the Pribilofs and St. Matthew Island west-southwest into Amchitka Island, extending to Shimianatu. Marginal VFR from Adak eastward to the Alaska Peninsula into Bristol Bay. Looks like IFR up the east side of Kodiak Island into not quite the southern Cook Inlet, but pushing into probably Kane's Head, maybe southern Resurrection Bay. VFR for Cook Inlet, and marginal VFR pushing up into the western Prince William Sound area. Whittier, Passage Canal, may or may not make it into Portage. VFR for the southeast coast. And for the afternoon Sunday, narrow band of IFR for the eastern Arctic coast, westwards to just east of Wainwright. And marginal VFR down across the Brooks Range, but the Koyukuk, Kobuk, and upper Yukon Valley area is looking good. VFR from there southward. Marginal VFR a little more widespread in Prince William Sound Sunday afternoon than in the morning, and also trying to push up across Kamishak Bay into southern Cook Inlet there, Iliamna Lake, and southern Kenai Peninsula, IFR Kodiak Island, Shelikof Strait, back to Sand Point. And a band of IFR now approaching the south coast of the Panhandle. Otherwise, pretty good day yet there for the southeast coast, good VFR. And some IFR through the central Bering Sea, extending down to Adak and Atka. Marginal VFR for both Anatuvik and Atigan at times tomorrow, especially on the northern entrances. Lake Clark and Merrow, another VFR day coming up for the Alaska Range. Rainy VFR, windy VFR. Isabel, same forecast. Mentasta, good VFR flying, and Tanita, VFR. Portage, looking good, another VFR day. Chilkoot and White, VFR. Freezing levels, 8,000 feet over the central interior, and about Bristol Bay, 8,000 feet there off to the east-southeast, and looking at 2,000 feet across the North Slope, and 4,000 to 6,000 feet in the southwest coast, 2,000 feet over the western Aleutians, western Bering Sea area. And for icing, an area of isolated moderate rime icing pushing into across Kodiak Island into Kamishak Bay, covering Bristol Bay and the Togiak Bay right up along the Kuskokwim Delta to Nunivak Island back to the Alaska Peninsula, and some possible mixed icing, very isolated moderate, if any at all, for Adak and Atka out to about Kiska. And maybe the eastern Arctic coast, just a threat of some icing 2,000 to 8,000 feet. It would be pretty light, but possibly mixed in nature. And for the upper level windfall chart, jet stream Upper high right over south central Alaska, northwest flow on the north side of that, but the strongest winds from the northeast interior into western Canada. Southeast winds on the south side up to 95 knots across the Alaska Peninsula, 65 knots there across the Togiak Bay area, Kuskokwim Delta, and at 3,000 feet, 65 knots right across northeast Bristol Bay. Turbulence, moderate chop, Bristol Bay, Togiak Bay, Kodiak Island, surface to 6,000.
It used to be that you could only warn one person about a tornado after it had already blown down someone else's barn.
Now, on average, we're able to issue a tornado warning 15 minutes before the tornado's even there, and that wouldn't be happening without Doppler radar.
This NexRad system has reduced fatalities on the order of 45% due to tornadoes since its advent.
We have a lot more information now about storms and being able to understand how they develop, how they produce severe weather, and how that information might be used to improve warnings for our National Weather Service partners.
The lab is unique in that we serve the nation by supporting the National Weather Service in its mission to protect lives and safe property by improving the accuracy and the lead time of severe weather warnings.
We have a legacy of radar research and converting existing technology from military to weather purposes.
A recycled Doppler radar led to the development of NexRad, installed nationwide in the early 90s. It allowed forecasters to see storms like never before.
Not only did we help bring that technology to the National Weather Service and to help protect lives and property, but we have continued to upgrade that technology, keep it relevant, and keep it state-of-the-art.
Recently, a major upgrade was added. Dual polarization technology takes the radar from 2D to 3D. Forecasters now know more about what type of precipitation is falling, which is very helpful during winter storms, as well as how much rain is accumulating, resulting in better flash flood warnings. The radar can also detect and track tornadoes based on debris. Looking to the future, the National Severe Storms Lab is testing the capabilities of phased array radar. Originally used by the U.S. Navy, the antenna scans the skies electronically rather than mechanically, allowing the radar to focus on a storm.
With current technology, we get a full picture or image of what is going on within a storm every 4 to 5 minutes. So it's more like a snapshot. Whereas with phased array radar, we get that picture of what's going on in the storm every minute. So it becomes more like watching a movie. So we can do adaptive, rapid scanning on the storms that matter most, being able to provide the information that's most relevant when and where it's happening.
Another advantage of phased array radar is its multifunction capability, providing weather and air traffic information simultaneously.
Number one, it is a system that promises to replace and expand upon the existing weather surveillance radars. Secondly, to replace aging air traffic surveillance radars. And number three, it offers a potential application to meet Department of Homeland Security and defense requirements for identifying and tracking non-cooperative aircraft. With the replacement of all these various radars with a single system, the American taxpayer could realize substantial savings in cost.
You have a lot fewer radars to maintain, and the electronic capability of this also reduces maintenance costs because you do not have moving parts.
Not too long ago, the ability to predict severe weather was thought to be impossible. During the past several decades, research conducted at the National Severe Storms Lab has developed life-saving tools like Doppler radar. We've progressed from no warning of threatening weather to about a 15-minute lead time, and current research promises to extend that much further.
our knowledge of severe storms and how they behave, and our use and ability to use the Doppler radar technology and is in a lot of cases a direct result of that close working relationship, that research to operations component that we get between the National Severe Storms Laboratory and a forecast office.
That history and understanding of how these data can be used by our users and doing the research to help advance the use of radar technology, really it's what we live for, it's in our lifeblood, it's in our history.
It's now easier than ever to be a part of weather research. We just launched the mPing app for both iPhone and Android users, and it's totally free. PING, which stands for Precipitation Identification Near the Ground, is a research project by the NOAA National Severe Storms Lab and the University of Oklahoma. With the mobile app, you can send us your weather observations on the go. Are snowflakes falling on your head? Is hail hitting your car? Just select what type of precipitation is falling and press submit. It's that easy. It takes about 5 seconds and it's anonymous. Reports can then be viewed online. Our scientists will compare your report with what the radar has detected. This helps us develop new radar technologies and techniques. Download the app today, share your reports, and let's work together to make our nation weather ready. Learn more here and follow us.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back to today's sea ice analysis. Some thinner ice there along the western Arctic coast, actually beyond the shorefast ice, which is still quite extensive. They're all along the western Arctic coast there. And then a more extensive area of thinning ice, Bering Strait and on down to the south. And as we go to the next graphic here, showing the southern areas there, St. Lawrence Island, still some heavier ice on the north shore there, but not as much as there has been. And continuing to melt, Norton Sound, actually across the entire northern Bering, and that melting trend expected to continue for the next 4 or 5 days, at least in the next week. And coastal water forecasts. Light winds along the coast, south or east to southeast at 10 knots on the south coast, north coast, east-northeast 10 knots, seas running 6 to 7 feet. Variable winds at 10 knots over the inside channel areas from Clarence Strait to Lynn Canal. Pretty slight seas at 2 feet. Pretty real light wind day for Saturday. Sunday, a little bit more of a breeze on the south coast. Southerlies at 20 knots. Seas a tad higher, coming up toward 10 feet. Southeast winds at 20 knots on the north coast. Southeast 20 for the northern inner channels, and for the Stevens Passage of Clarence Strait areas, southeast winds 15 knots. Seas 3 feet. Prince William Sound, northeast winds 10 knots, seas 2 feet. Small craft advisories for Cook Inlet, northeast winds tomorrow 25 knots with 6 to 7 foot seas. East winds 35 knots for Kamishak Bay. Gale warnings also there for Kodiak Island. For the Barren Islands. Barren Islands, Kamishak Bay, gale warnings, east winds 35 knots. North Gulf Coast, small craft advisories, east-northeast winds 25 to 30 knots. Now for Sunday, northeast 15 for Prince William Sound, small craft advisories for the North Gulf Coast, east-northeast, 25 to 30 knots, seas around 10 feet. Gale warnings continue for the Barren Islands for winds out of the east at 35 knots, and for southern Cook Inlet and Kamishak Bay, small craft advisories, north to northeast winds at 30 knots. Northern Cook Inlet, northeast winds at 20. Now Kodiak Island, gale warnings tomorrow, strongest wind Shelikof Strait out of the northeast at 40 knots. And for the Alaska Peninsula, east winds 20 to 25 knots. Small craft advisories for Bristol Bay, east winds at 30 knots. And then for Sunday, light variable wind pattern in store for the Alaska Peninsula. with seas running 3 to 7 feet. Bristol Bay winds northeast 15 knots, and small craft advisories for Kodiak Island. Northwest winds 25 to 30 knots, seas around 10 feet. On Alaska Island, east winds 20 knots tomorrow. Unimak Island, east-northeast at 15, and Atka and Adak looking north to northeast for the wind direction at about 15 to 20 knots. Amchitka Island to Shimia, north winds at 25 knots. And for Sunday, Shimia to Amchitka Island, northwest winds at 25 knots. Adak and Atka, still a light wind pattern north at 15, maybe 20 knots there. And for Unalaska Island, east-southeast, 15 knots. Light variable winds in the forecast for Sunday for Unimak Island at 10 knots. Southwest coast tomorrow, small craft advisories. East winds 25 to 30 knots. Northeast at 20 knots for the Pribilof Islands. Northeast 15 for Norton Sound. Outlook for Sunday, east 15 for the Pribilofs and northeast 15 for the southwest coast. St. Lawrence Island, northeast at 20, same forecast for St. Matthew Island. Eastern Beaufort Sea coast tomorrow, variable winds 5 to 10 knots, northeast at 10 on the central coast, picking up to 20 knots on the western Arctic coast. Brisk wind advisories from Cape Beaufort to Wales, from Cape Beaufort to Cape Thompson for northeast winds at 25 knots. Otherwise, Cape Thompson to Wales tomorrow, northeast at 20. And then we got brisk wind advisories from Cape Thompson up to, say, about Point Ley or so for east-northeast winds at 30 knots. Otherwise, the central and eastern Arctic coast, 15-knot winds from a direction ranging from east to northeast. And for tonight, again, a few skiffs of flurries and could be another widespread area of low clouds and fog for the Arctic coast, some of that spilling into the North Slope. Otherwise, look for fog into the Chukchi Sea, but fair and mild over much interior Alaska with light wind conditions, wind and rain on the increase. Kodiak Island, Alaska Peninsula, stays pretty damp and unsettled over the entire Aleutian chain. Low clouds and fog right up to the coastline from Cape St. Elias all the way down into Dixon Entrance. And for tomorrow, low clouds and fog right along the coast of the Panhandle. Otherwise sunny and warm interior Alaska. Rain, Kodiak Island, Bristol Bay, Alaska Peninsula. About the same on Sunday.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.